What's up, everybody, and welcome to the New York Gamer Channel, hosted by R17. It's been easily over 11 years since my last video, maybe 10 years, but it's been a while. So give me some slack because I may be a little rusty at this. Although I've done other podcasts and YouTube videos, I haven't focused on a gaming channel, my gaming channel, for a long time. I've let that go by the wayside. But I feel like enough time has passed now where I want to comment on things. And I want to bring my perspective into it because there's tons of other people doing it. You know, some good, some not good. I subscribe to the people that I find interesting, that put out great content. But for the most part, I feel like there's a critical voice missing there. And that's a voice of someone who's being brutally honest, but also could speak to the history of gaming for at least the last 30 years and talk about where it's come from, where it's going, certain trends that are going on now, good or bad, how the three companies are doing, because for this gaming channel, for the purpose of this gaming channel, I'll only be focusing on console gaming. I can't speak to PC gaming. I'm not an expert in it. Therefore, I'm not going to comment on it. I'm only going to comment on things that I know. I'm only going to comment on things that I play, that I follow, that I read up on, and stuff that I feel I'm versed enough in where I could speak about. I'm not going to just comment and talk about things where I have no subject matter knowledge on. So this will just focus on the consoles, console gaming, which to me is the only gaming I've ever enjoyed. It's the only gaming I'll ever enjoy. I have no interest in a keyboard. I have no interest in using an iPad to play random Apple Store games. I'm just not a mobile gaming, aside from the Nintendo Switch, Game Boys, things like that, just not my thing. Anyway, we're verging off course here. It's been a long time since I've done any kind of content related to gaming solely. So this is just going to serve as kind of an introduction video of what to expect for the next couple of months from this channel, if you deem it interesting enough for you to follow. Again, everyone's tastes are different. This isn't going to be a channel that's Disney themed. There will be some cursing. There will be some brutal frankness from me. Hence, New York Gamer. It's not just going to be kind of any kind of uptight or rigid video. And it's also not going to be some kind of rated X, foul-mouthed trash bag channel either. It's going to be precise critiques of games, gaming trends, gaming news, articles, websites, podcasts. Really critiquing of everything and thoughts on everything. And I'll be listening to anyone who's interested and wants to reach out to me on your thoughts of what I discussed, maybe things that you feel I missed, things you felt I was completely wrong on or just really blindsided about. I want to hear about it. I want to hear about it. I want to engage. I want to have that kind of discussion and discourse on all things related to console gaming. But the format of the show is going to be 30-minute, 40-minute discussions, maybe a little less. I can't commit to weekly episodes, so I'll be honest right off the bat. It's incredibly hard, as many of you probably know, to edit videos and balance work, full-time work, family, and everything else that comes with life. Before COVID, and definitely during COVID, there will be content pushed out. Within a month, there will be multiple content pushed out within a month, but I can't guarantee a weekly distribution of that. The format of the show is going to be talk. Sometimes we'll have guests on. We'll speak to other people who are gaming enthusiasts, maybe people who are collectors of rare games, retro gamers, people who view gaming maybe as not a full hobby, but something they do sporadically. I'd like to get their opinions on things too. This is just a brief discussion on the current state of gaming right now. It is April of 2021. We are 7 months since the launch of next-gen consoles. The PlayStation 5 launched in November. The Series X and Series S launched in November. So we had 3 consoles launch last November of 2020. And since then, we have been itching and crawling and really trying to just get a sense of what these consoles could do. And there is not a day that goes by where I don't scroll down my Twitter feed and there's yet another comparison video of a PS5 title and a Series X title and a Series S title and then the last generation consoles and how each of their frame rates are doing, how each of their resolutions are doing, who has more bugs than the other version, who's sending a patch quicker. And the games we're comparing, for the most part, are shit titles. Once in a while, it's a true gem, whether it's a AAA title or a really solid indie title. But a lot of times, because of the desert we're in right now, this past winter and now early spring, it's been clawing and just starving for true next-gen exclusives from either console. And I'm not going to get too specific here, but both consoles really didn't launch with an amazing lineup, but PS5 absolutely had the edge, at least with the DLC of Miles Morales, which turned out to be excellent from what people have said. But it was still a PS4 game. Demon's Souls as well. And multi-plat titles for both. The problem is, and I'll get into this in a later episode, and we may have guests come on to talk about this, these consoles, both companies, Sony and Microsoft, are still kind of straddling the lines of we need to make games that can function on our last generation consoles as well as this generation. And in doing that, they're stymieing any kind of wow factor games that we could be seeing right now because they want to make them still playable on their last generation hardware. So they're developing games still in this time period that need to run on both platforms, a last generation platform and a current generation platform. And in doing this, they're holding back a lot of that innovation we saw when the 360 and PS3 era came about, where we saw that huge jump into the HD era. That's stymieing a lot of really kind of next-gen visuals that we all expected after we made our $500 purchases on whatever plastic box we chose. I know that'll change eventually. It'll absolutely change eventually. This isn't going to last forever. I've been through more than 8 console cycles now, so this is nothing new. It will change, but it kind of sucks right now for the consumer because if you put down $500, you expected a return on your investment within 7 months, I would think. Maybe not within 30 days, and maybe not within 2 months, but within 7 months. And for some people, maybe some of those titles you already feel like you've gotten, whether it was Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, Miles Morales, Demon's Souls, or whatever it could be. But for the rest of us, we're hungry because $500 is $500. Let alone one company in particular decided that raising the price of these games is a smart move to $70. Again, in another episode, we will talk about how Sony has become completely anti-consumer. And I'll talk about my theory on the cyclical nature of how Sony goes from generation to generation being pro-consumer to anti-consumer. And it's a cycle that I've noticed over the last 3 generations now. And we'll talk about Microsoft's mantra and what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. Nintendo will discuss. But overall, the current state of gaming is an interesting one right now. Because at the end of the day, we've finally gotten to a point where I think both these new plastic boxes, the Series X and the PS5, maybe have reached a point where the parity for the games is going to be very similar. Even though it's still too early, we have not even scratched the surface of what these consoles could do. Again, because we're still in this process of they have to balance out a last generation game and a current generation game. Going forward a year or 2 from now, both are going to increase what they could do. The amount of enemies on screen, visuals, the frame rate, the resolution, the colors, sensory things that these consoles could emit, whether it's the Dolby Atmos, DualSense controller using that haptic feedback. Both consoles are trying to reach the player more than just the game. They're trying to use sensory items outside of the game, outside of the TV, to really kind of envelop you in that kind of gaming world. And I think that's interesting, because if we're not going to go into a VR world just yet, maybe the next best step is to just trigger senses by incorporating 3D audio, incorporating haptic feedback that makes the player feel every little motion in the game, whether it's raindrops, whether it's a street pothole driving in a game, whatever it is, it's bringing you more into that world. As we move on, again, just briefly, I think the vision for the rest of the year is we will get closer to E3, and I think we will see some big titles announced. But I think all these companies have learned that they will not announce games that are 2 or 3 years away. I think they will only announce games that will be coming out within 12 months. I think there'll be absolutely a huge title announced for PS5 that will come out at the end of this year. Whether it's God of War 2, I doubt it. But it'll be something. And I think the same for Series X, aside from Halo Infinite already coming out. I think Microsoft has acquired so many studios now that they basically own half the gaming world. So they'll have so many studios making things for the next 5+ years, just for the Series X and Series S, that I'm not concerned about what's being made in the factories, because I know it's all going to be great things. Hopefully it'll be new IPs. It'll be sequels of existing IPs. It'll be brand new experiences, just kind of like what PS5 is getting now with Returnal. Very excited to see how that game does. That's a game that you could say is a next-gen experience just based on the previews. Can't say that confidently without actually seeing the reviews and people giving their full assessment. But just from the previews, you could see that's a true next-gen game. It's not being developed for PS4, as far as we know. So this is a true exclusive. Whether it goes to PC after, I don't really give a shit. But for the PS5 only, in terms of console exclusive. And visually, it looks gorgeous. So I'll be excited to see that. But the vision for the rest of the year is anyone who is an early adopter of these consoles, and I've done this for a long time, a lot of friends of mine have done this for a long time, sometimes you get screwed, whether it's faulty hardware that has to get recalled, or it's a desert of games. This time we got a desert of games, and again, people could bring up certain titles that one had or the other didn't have. It wasn't a true powerhouse next-gen launch. You'd be drinking the Kool-Aid completely if you tried to argue that point at all. We've definitely had previous generations that came out with much bigger guns on both sides for their launch. We didn't have it this time. And they could blame COVID, possibly. I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. But it's so easy now to use COVID for every single excuse, whether it's a game delay, a new device not shipping, a device being delayed. I can't wait till we move past COVID, because I want to get back to the old excuses of PR bullshit that's being told to us rather than COVID. COVID has become the go-to easy thing for gaming developers and publishers to use, and console companies to use. And again, I'm not going to take away, some of it is true, but not all of it. I just know that in my bones. I used to write in the industry. I used to be a PR liaison on a former website that I worked on. And I would speak to people in the industry, and it was hard getting a hold of these people. It was really hard getting a hold of them. And then you felt amazing when you did, because I wasn't writing for a huge site. I was writing for a mom and pop site, and we did a lot of good work, and we covered a lot of stuff. But when you follow the industry long enough, you start to learn cues and learn familiar PR storylines. So I just feel it in my bones that I hope the narrative changes in terms of the progression of games being released for these consoles. I hope that the consumer is kept in mind that they made an investment 7 months ago. A lot of people still haven't been able to get these consoles. That's been another disaster, just the launching of the consoles and trying to find them. Microsoft's been at least a lot better with it than Sony. But overall, it's still been hard. And again, I could see with COVID, it has been an issue. But my feeling was, if you both were ready to launch these consoles, you should have waited another 5, 6, 7 months. Because there would have been more content to release alongside them, and there would have been more consoles to ship to stores. Instead of creating this kind of fake demand of, oh, it's sold out again. Well, of course it's sold out because each of you only put 3 in the store. So, of course, anybody that walks in, you only need 2 more people after that anybody. And that's it. All 3 are gone. So the headline reads, sold out at Best Buy. Well, of course it's sold out at Best Buy. You each put 3 in there. Of course it's going to sell out. So to me, those are kind of like bogus and phony articles. If they decide to increase the chip manufacturing to send them out to the stores, that's different, because then you'll see them start to unload quicker, they'll be sold quicker, and people will be able to get their hands on them. So there'll be a better chance for more consumers to get these consoles, giving more money to the companies. Still not seeing a return on the investment in terms of titles. So we'll have to wait and see. In closing, this is a channel that will speak to specific topics. It'll speak to specific topics and we'll bring guests on to talk about those topics. But it's something I feel that needs to be talked about, whether it's pricing, anti-consumerness, bullshit PR statements sent out by companies, new trends, new accessories, devices. I want to cover it all. I want to cover it all as much as I can. And I want to dig through the fluff and get to the real substance of each of the stories so we could bring that out and talk about it, dissect it, maybe attack it, promote it. That's what this channel is going to be about. It's going to be about having substantive conversations that probably get missed, not in all, but in a lot of channels, and narrow in on those topics. And you could pick and choose a list of those topics. Again, anti-consumerness, prices, affordability, accessibility, a lot of topics. So please, check out my channel. There'll be more content coming. Write to me, any questions you have, concerns, ideas, all for ideas, proposals, reach out to me. It's R17. I'll have my information here. Please like the video and subscribe. That's important. Like the video, subscribe, and comment. Like, subscribe, and comment. I know you hear the same jazz from every other YouTube person, so that's the only thing I can promise. I'll be the same as everyone else. At the end of these videos, like, subscribe, comment. R17 here. Take it easy, everyone.